Hey guys, Next here. Today we're talking about Rocket League in VR. Is it possible? How do you do it? What's the best way to do it? Is it fun? Is it competitively viable? In this video we will answer all these questions, so let's jump straight into it to find out. So first thing, it is indeed possible, and you need the following things. First, a PC. On console I don't think you can do this. Then you need Rocket League, of course. I don't think it matters if it's on Steam or Epic. Then you need a VR headset, of course, and I will rank them later. I will also refer to the VR headset as HMD, which stands for head-mounted display. And then you need a little program called vorpX that renders the non-native VR games on a big 3D screen in your headset. So how do you do this? The first thing you have to do is set up your HMD. Then you have to start the runtime, so SteamVR or Oculus. Then you have to start vorpX. You download a profile for Rocket League from vorpX Cloud, and then you start Rocket League. After you've done this, it should already be working, but I usually advise to tinker with the settings a little bit to get the best experience for you. So there are two main modes in vorpX. The first is full VR mode, where you have a big flat screen stuck in your face, which is a little bit uncomfy for me, but you have the ability to use your head movement as camera movement. So your right stick becomes your head movement. Then you have the immersive screen mode. With this you have a big screen in front of your face, but you have the ability to look around and look at the different parts of this screen. Also, you have the ability to adjust the curvature of the screen and to also use a curvature on the vertical side of it. What's the best way to play Rocket League in VR? First, you need a PC that can push at least 240 FPS constant in all scenarios, because they will be halved when using Geometry 3D. So, what is Geometry 3D? It's one of the two modes that vorpX offers to render the images in 3D in your headset. Geometry is the one that offers the superior 3D effect and has two different images produced, one per eye, to reproduce real-life 3D, where your eyes draw two different images from slightly shifted POVs, which are then interpolated by your brain in order to give you the depth perception. Then there's also Z3D, which simulates this 3D effect by only producing one image and then producing another one slightly offset from the first. And this one is much better FPS-wise, but the 3D effect is almost unnoticeable for me in Rocket League. In other titles, it's very, very good. Then you need an HMD with a high refresh rate, at least I would say 120 Hz, so that you can fully enjoy the fast-paced action of Rocket League, and also to reduce input lag, as you cannot produce more FPS than your HMD's refresh rate in vorpX. So if you have a 90 Hz refresh rate on your headset, you cannot produce 120, for example. It always has to match. So the more FPS you have, the less the input lag, so more refresh rate you want to have on your headset. You also need a very high resolution, because with HMDs, the screen is very close to your eyes. So you need a high pixel density for full immersion and no screen door effect. The screen door effect is a little black outline around each pixel that really breaks immersion and makes you feel like you're looking at a matrix of pixels instead of a screen. And finally, you need a native PC VR headset, because, for example, when playing via Oculus Link on Quest 2, you require additional encoding of the video to send it to the headset via USB, as opposed to the DisplayPort that native PC VR headsets have. This procedure slightly decreases the image quality and fluidity, because you have to pass through the encoding first. It puts more strain on your PC because of this, and even if you have an RTX card that have a dedicated encoder, about 14% of your CPU is still used for encoding, so basically you get less FPS if you're CPU bound. And most importantly, it adds input lag, because before getting the images in your headset, you have to encode them, transfer them, and decode them in the headset. And this adds around 13 to 15 milliseconds of input lag, which is almost the full input lag of a top-end PC from end to end, so from controller press to something happens on the screen. So all of this considered, which are the best headsets? Let's start from the bottom. So the honorable mentions are Valve Index, Pimax Artisan, and they have pretty much all good stats except for their low resolution, which is, as we said, a big deal. Then we have the Pimax 8KX, which has an overkill resolution and FOV, but it only has 115 Hz of refresh rate, and you also need to decrease your settings to get there. Then at the third place on the podium, we have the Pimax 5K Plus, which uses a display with 144 Hz, 2560 by 1440 per eye. It has a 150 degrees horizontal field of view, which is huge, but unfortunately it decreases as you increase the refresh rate, and it also gives less pixel density at the center, which is the most important part. And also, having a huge FOV is not too important for non-native VR games, like in this case Rocket League. Then we have the Pimax 5K Super, which is the same exact thing as the Pimax 5K Plus, but it can reach 180 Hz of refresh rate, making it the fastest HMD on the market. And then in the first place, we have the HTC Vive Pro 2. It only has 120 Hz of refresh rate, but most games won't run much higher than that anyway. Then it has a massive 2448 by 2448 resolution per eye, and 116 degrees of horizontal field of view. And why is it better? Because the frame rate is still pretty high, and you have a huge resolution in the center of the screen where it matters most, as you don't need high resolution for peripheral view anyways. If you try and put something in your peripheral view and you try to read it to see the details, you will not be able to do that. So you don't need a huge resolution in those parts of your view. So if you go lower than these specs, the low resolution might be a bit too detrimental to tell what's going on far away from you in the game. And also the low refresh rates and FPS might be a bit too much input lag. Now that we discussed the specs, let's come down to the conclusions. First, is it fun? Absolutely. Especially in a more casual environment, like for example, custom maps. Like a huge curved stereo 3D screen in front of your eyes is a killer combo. And then we have the last topic. Is it competitively viable? The answer is depends. So VR is good for immersion and, for example, bounce reads, because you have a huge screen and stereo 3D. The fact is that the image judders when a lot is going on the screen. Like for example, when you're flicking ball cam on and off repeatedly, because you're rendering a lot of information from a non-VR game in a VR environment using a third-party tool. Plus, you'll have a bit more input lag. So I run on a 240 Hz monitor, so 240 FPS as well. Instead, with my HTC Vive Pro 2, I only run in 120. And this adds roughly 9 milliseconds of input lag, which is not a huge deal, but it's a bit more. It is something to mention that you do notice the judder much more than the added input lag, for sure. So this brings us to the conclusion that if you're a low-rank player that struggles, for example, with bounce reads and doesn't play super fast, VR is probably going to be an upgrade. Instead, on the other hand, if you're a high-rank player that has good bounce reads and plays fast, the stutters may be a bit too much to bear, as it can really hinder those plays that require high precision. So, this is all. Let me know what you guys think about Rocket League in VR. Are you planning on trying it? Have you already tried it? Let me know down below in the comments, and if you found this video informative, make sure to leave a like, and yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.